Me.
I suppose it is. So I guess we're not doing classic read or anything like that.
I don't know. We'll do it. Sure.
Because I ain't got nothing. Tip, classic read, nothing.
Dude, it's all Secret Wars. It's
I
Secret
was gonna-
Wars all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it's gonna be a long one.
Yeah, it's Secret Wars, man.
Okay. All right, counting down. All right, in 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Months Behind podcast. I'm Pat.
I'm Sean.
And this is the week of 7/11/16 and the epic week that Secret Wars number 9 and the entire Secret Wars saga finally ended. We, of course, have other comics, but none of them matter because Secret Wars finally ended. Took 6 years, but hey.
Yes.
What's 6 years in the comic book lifetime?
I'm older, I'm grayer, I'm wiser.
Yes.
And Secret Wars is finally finished.
You know, it really wasn't 6 years, but we were talking about it, I don't know, one day this week, and how long was it? It was
meant to be 3 to 4 months and turned into 8.
Yes, it was supposed to be 8 issues over 3 to 4 months and turned into 9 issues over 8 months. It was a mammoth project, so mammoth that Jonathan Hickman wrote a comic book making fun of himself for how late it shipped.
Yes.
Yes.
Which we will discuss here very shortly.
Yes, we will. The website is www.6monthsbehind.com. The email is
6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6 monthsbehind@gmail.com. Also of note, typically on the show we give minor, very light spoilers. This time, because we're going to be discussing the wrap up of Secret Wars, we're going to go full spoiler. We're going to assume you've read this book and discuss it as such. So if you have not read Secret Wars yet, please tune out and we'll see you next week, or skip about 20 minutes ahead in the podcast.
Yeah, because there's so many implications in what we're in all the rest of these books that we can finally talk about, because you finally talk about how Secret Wars ended and how it fits into the all different books that you can finally talk about.
Yes.
Then that you finally have Secret Wars number 9 and this whole saga is finally concluded.
Right. And I understand most of you probably went out and just bought Secret Wars number 9 because it took 100 years to come out. But
yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm buying Civil War now. I didn't make it to the store to buy Civil War number 3 today, but I'll get it tomorrow, Friday, because I just can't take it. I can't. So anyway.
I know what you mean.
With that, on to Secret Wars number 9. We left off in Secret Wars number 8, where the Black Panther and Namor were face to face with Doctor Doom, with the Black Panther holding an Infinity Gauntlet, and it was quite an interesting standoff.
Yes, they faced off with Doctor Doom.
I went back and reread this book because, and at this point, I've probably read it. I don't know, 5 or 6 times. And this is really a great issue. And one of the reasons it's a great issue is it starts there with the Black Panther and Namor fighting Doctor Doom. And what you realize is they're fighting Doctor Doom, and it's an epic battle. It's a battle across all the universal planes. Is they're stalling for time. And they're stalling for time for Reed Richards, both of the Reed Richards, actually, to find Owen Reese. Is he the Impossible Man or the Miracle Man? He's the Impossible Man.
No, No, he's the Molecule Man.
The Molecule. That's right. Dude, I get all my characters confused. He's the Molecule Man, and they're basically stalling, giving Reed time to find him, and it's a great fight. You see Doom being Doom, and it's really entertaining. It just that act of this comic book. What did you think of that act? If we call that Act 1.
Yeah, because there's about 3 different story segments here that happen. Well, you take the fight to Doom in that way because you've got to create a distraction for Reed Richards to do his thing. Yeah, I mean, it's the two of them having a god fight in space, which you actually don't get to see much of.
No, you really don't.
Which I thought was kind of a missed opportunity.
You're already at 9 issues, and it's 32. And issue 9 is 32 pages long.
No, I understand why they cut it short, but that would have been really cool to see. At the very least, it would have been some really cool art.
Yeah, but they get to that when you get to the Richards Doom fight.
Yeah, they cut the Black Panther Doom fight short because Doom and Reed Richards are going to square off here in a minute.
But because what eventually happens is he defeats the Black Panther, and as he defeats the Black Panther is laying there smiling. And when Doom realizes why he actually asks him why he's smiling, and when he tells him why he's smiling, that's when he tells him, and Doom realizes the whole thing's a distraction.
Right.
And which he goes after Richards.
Immediately teleports to the chamber where he keeps the Molecule Man.
Yes.
Yeah,
and once he gets there, they have a brief conversation, and the first thing that happens is the Molecule Man decides it should be a fair fight, and takes away all of Doom's power.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. I thought that was very interesting.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Reed isn't surprised to see the Molecule Man there.
No,
but
I don't think so.
Well, he says so.
Right.
But he says he wasn't prepared for it. How did he know? And first of all, how did the Molecule Man have this much power?
Well, I don't really understand this, and I'm in the process of reading Time Runs Out. By the way, for a cheap plug, we're doing an actual Secret Wars podcast where we're not just going to talk about issue 9. We're going to talk about all the other limited series that came out during the Secret Wars run. We're going to talk about all the issues in Secret Wars. We're going to talk about the whole thing. We'll be recording that sometime in the next week, and it'll be up sometime in the next 7 to 10 days. So I'm actually reading Time Runs Out leading up to this, because what you got to remember is that's not just the Molecule Man.
Right,
That's
he stole the Beyonder's
Molecule
power
Man from all the universes with the Beyonder's power. So it's all the Molecule Man assembled with the Beyonder's power, and he's actually gone mad from it.
Sure, I just don't understand what the Beyonder's power is.
When you get to the end, every time a universe goes out, a piece of the Impossible Man. What is he?
The Impossible Man?
The Molecule Man. Dude, I can't keep him straight. The Molecule Man goes with it. A piece of Owen goes with it every time a universe goes out.
Right, yeah. Well, because he is the conduit power for Doom. He has that much power, which we'll discuss in a minute about how, what Doom became God and what he decided to do with it. And so if you take a portion of that power and parse it out with new universes, you can make the Molecule Man not crazy.
Which is what they're doing.
Yes, exactly.
Dude, your roommates are having a great party. I don't know what they're doing and how much alcohol's involved. But
probably none.
Okay, they're having a great party.
It's one person.
He's having fun, man. So that you get, and here's something I really enjoyed is the Marvel universe at this point is 60 years old, 50 years old. And it essentially started with the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. Those first 3 issues, the Fantastic Four, 4 issues, whatever they were bad. Until Doctor Doom rolled in, and I believe it was issue 4. And at that point, you had a superhero team and you had a villain. And that's been the basics foundation of the Marvel Universe ever since. And it's everything that the Marvel Universe is built upon is Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. And when you and the foundation of that is Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom, who went to college together. And of course, you know the backstory to all those two. And when it comes down to it, you got these 2 guys sitting there fighting with the fate of the universe, of everything, in their hands. And, excuse me, and you know, Owen's made it a fair fight, so it's just them. And at one point, they're arguing, and I forget how does Doom put it exactly?
Put what?
Could you have done it better?
Oh yeah. Well, what he says is, you think you're better than me. You think if you take my power right now in this moment, you can do a better job.
And Reed actually says, no, I've always thought you were better than you were. And Doom says, no, you think you could have done this better. And finally Reed says, yeah, I think I could have. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, and then also says he's right. And this gets into the whole thing with Doom being God. Doom has long been a representation of the hubris of man. And, you know, he took the power of God and reached out and just grabbed all of what was left of creation and remade it in his own image. And he just did very petty things with it. And the creation that you got was just as ugly as he is.
Yes.
And it's the, you know, Dr. Doom is a man of great power and he's a genius, but he has no real vision, or at least one that doesn't end in a massive body count.
And once Reed's given that power, not only is everything instantly restored, which it is, you know, but because the instant that happens, the instant they're fighting, and Doom's and Reed says, yes, I could do it better. And Doom says, yeah, okay, you can. Fine. Owen says, okay, we're in agreement. That's it. Everything ends. And
Right.
It goes back. Yeah, it's hard to say it goes back to where it was.
It is, well, and part of it is the Infinity Gauntlet, too. Black Panther does something there.
I read that very carefully. And you kept sending me texts saying, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? And I was sitting there reading that, trying to figure out what he was doing with the Infinity Gauntlet. He was snatching a gem out of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think he used it.
I'm not sure what he did. If he used it to transport to where he wanted to be, or if he kept it, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain. And which, it was the yellow one. So which one is that?
Was it the time gem
Might
or
be.
the reality gem?
I don't know.
Did he use the reality gem to restore Wakanda?
He might have. That's what I think. I think he used the reality gem to restore the Earth as it should be. But not to stray too far, you know, going back to what we were saying, Doom had all this power and he did petty things with it. I mean, he literally stole Reed Richards' wife because that's what he's always wanted.
Yeah.
He's always wanted Susan Storm. So instead of remaking a wonderful world, he just decided, hey, I'll take her and remake this world the way I want it and hold it together and, you know, rule it with an ironclad fist. But the thing is, he never even had the power. It was always Molecule Man. Molecule Man's the one with the power.
Yeah, he was essentially a battery for him.
Yeah. And so to me, you have to question whether Doom held any power at all of any significance,
I don't know.
or if he was always just the same sad, broken dude that he had always been. But anyway, you have that fight, and then reality comes back and it snaps to Wakanda, and you've got the Black Panther. He just kind of shows up in the forest, and Wakanda's been restored. And there's these people making a blood sacrifice to a statue or something, and he comes out of the woods and makes a great speech, and there's a rocket launch in the background. You realize they're going to be the pinnacle of science, you know, as they always are. So you've got Wakanda back. Did Doctor Doom kill Namor, by the way, right there at the end? I mean, clearly Namor's been restored and remembers everything.
I don't know. I've lost track of who died where and when, and who was restored and who's not restored. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanos died in issue 8, but he's alive in the all new Marvel universe. I don't know, man. I don't know.
And then, of course, it snaps to another scene where you see Miles Morales in the proper 616 universe, the Prime Marvel universe, I guess is what we're calling it now. So he is Spider-Man as well as Peter Parker. And if you've been reading the Spider books, there's a team of Spider-Men running around these days. One more note, backtracking a little. And as we know from the new Avengers book, dude, the Maker is absolutely terrifying.
Dude, he is a horrifying villain. When I get time, and this is the reason that we're doing this podcast, is because we love Marvel Unlimited, and I love this app. And at some point, I want to go back and read the Ultimate books to figure out who abused this child as a kid so that he is so evil, man. This is a great villain.
Well, and you think about it, because what you have is the two Reed Richards working together to beat Doom. And the Maker is actually not in this for very long. He only has a couple lines before he just gets obliterated. But he's just so evil.
Dude,
and the thing is, man. The good Reed Richards has been through the ringer just as bad as the other one.
Yeah.
And so it's not an issue of, well, one of them's, been through a whole lot of crap. They've both been through a lot. Reed Richards in particular has been through a lot right now when he lost Susan and then found her again, but she was, with Doom and didn't know who he was and all this stuff. And dude, the Maker is just horrifying.
Yeah.
So after the Spider-Man scene, you get to the part that's really important.
Yes, which is basically the Future Foundation is what you have there, minus Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm. You have the Future Foundation, which is essentially consists of Reed and Sue and the two kids and some other kids that I don't know how their parents let them go there. But anyway.
Right. And this is the Sue Storm from before she died.
Yes.
Apparently, when he sees the power from Doom, he went back to that moment she died in the life raft coming to Battle World and saved her somehow.
Yes.
So it's his Sue Storm.
Yes. And they not only did they recreate everything then, but they're continually recreating universes.
Yes. You've got Reed Richards, who he comes up with these ideas for whole universes, and then he takes those ideas and Reed creates the physical structures of those universes and siphons off a portion of the Molecule Man's power to anchor the universe and just throws it out there into space. And so somewhere in some dimension,
Franklin's involved in there somewhere. But I do. And
Yeah.
they're just out there continually creating universes.
Yeah, the thing is the Richards and the Future Foundation are just creating universes, which
Continually.
continually, which I guess does that make Reed Richards God? At the very least, it makes him the architect of the universe and the multiverse.
You know, he's sitting out there with Doom's power, creating universes, man. And if somebody at some point doesn't give that some consideration, I don't know, man.
And who else do you get? I mean, who else in the Marvel universe would be better at this than Reed Richards?
I don't know. And this is
Yeah.
why you're not getting a Fantastic Four book anytime soon.
Yeah, but and that's true too. But I think this is a good thing to do with the Richards for right now, because you're not getting that Fantastic Four book. Because let's be honest, they're out of ideas. This was the coolest thing you could do with those characters without killing them off.
Sure. And when you get to the Guardians book that we're going to talk about in a little while, that's a good use of Ben Grimm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So last thing, you think Reed realizes that Doom did what he did because he was afraid to lose the things he loved so much that he just held them so tight it all slipped through his fingers. And I've always thought that comes back to him losing he was a very handsome man before he became Dr. Doom, and then his face gets scarred. And I always thought that him losing that was what really drove him across the edge. And Reed Richards, knowing that, decides to be forgiving, and he brings Doom back to life with his face intact. That's the big reveal at the end of the issue.
And now he's in the Iron Man book doing
being a good guy.
Apparently, maybe. Who knows?
I don't know. And see, what I don't know is does Dr. Doom remember being God?
Brother, I don't know who remembers what. I've tried to figure it out, and I don't know. I don't know.
Because apparently Miles Morales remembers, because he remembers giving the burger to Molecule Man.
Yeah, and if there's a dude you want owing you a favor, that's probably him.
Yeah, probably so.
Probably so. Yeah.
So that's the end of Secret Wars. It jumps 8 months later, and the world has been remade very much into a world that we remember. It's very much like the previous universe, although they have said in subsequent books that this is a new universe. They actually number the universe. It's like the 8th iteration of the universe or something like that. But yeah. So what did you think of the issue overall?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a really, really good conclusion to the series. I thought Hickman really nailed it. It's hard to have a build up like this to a series like this, and to really stick the landing, and he did. And I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Especially since he had so much trouble coming up with an ending. I mean, I think that was the bigger delay than anything else.
I don't think so, man. I think Hickman knew what he was doing all along. I think the problem was the art.
Well, he admitted that he didn't have an ending for it when they started this thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's in that book.
I think that's a joke, man.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's a joke, man. The artist was the problem. You go back and read the articles. The art was the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, they were actually talking about subbing artists on it.
I mean, it's fantastic art, but I'm if they did it again, I bet they would probably do that. Sub in a different artist.
Yeah, they were talking about subbing some artists for some issues, just to get the thing out.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on Secret Wars?
I bet they don't make these mistakes with Civil War.
Oh no, this is not the first time things like this have happened, and they try really hard to keep this from happening. And sometimes it just does, but every time it does, they they take steps to make sure it never happens again.
And I haven't seen this guy working for Marvel since, so
Jonathan
that may tell
Hickman,
you something. No, the artist.
Esad Ribic.
Yes.
Well, let's be honest. The guy's he's probably not going to be working for them for a little while. I mean, typically when you see a big artist do something like this, they then go on and do another project somewhere else because they spent so much time doing this.
He's probably locked in a rubber room somewhere.
Dude, it's really complicated art. If you look at it, you realize that's a lot of pencil work.
It's beautiful art.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
But knowing some artists, I can look at it and tell, yeah, that's really complicated pencil work and does not take 20 minutes to draw. What they should have done is had about 6 of these in the can and then launched with it.
I think they actually had 2 or 3 in the can.
I think you're right. Now that I think about it. Yeah, and still got behind. But if you go back and read it all together now, it's a great event. With a bunch of really good tie-in books.
That are all up there in the top of the, what do you call this tab?
The Discover tab. Yeah, so you got Secret Wars, which is all the main story, and then the Battle World and
War Zones
and
Last Days.
Yeah, all the tie-in stuff. And I didn't realize until I saw those lists just how much was there.
Dude, a lot.
Yeah, they pushed out some serious books. Of course, they weren't publishing anything else at the time, which I think is why they made the decision to go ahead, even though Secret Wars shipped late. They decided to go ahead and put the new stuff out because they just had to start shipping new books.
Yeah, they just had to.
Yeah. So that is our review of Secret Wars number 9. Like Pat said, we're probably going to do like a Secret Wars Redux type episode where we discuss the whole event. But in the meantime, let's move on to Amazing Spider-Man 1.2.
Do we have to?
Dude, Spider-Man goes to Cuba and meets some people in weird costumes that I don't know. And
there's a surprise ending.
And I don't care about this book anymore. Even with the surprise ending. The art looks good. Simon Bianchi's art looks really good. But my goodness, I do not give a rip about this book.
I had trouble following the plot. I don't care about the plot. You got a bunch of religious people trying to bring people back from the dead. I don't even know what's going on. I don't care what's going on. I don't understand why it's a 1.1, 1.2. I don't care. And
I guess that's because it's like a little one-off story. But dude, I don't care.
I don't care. It's just bad.
They're writing so many good Spider-Man books right now that I don't have time to read this one really. And if it's not something that ties into the story, the heck with it.
Which brings us to the X-Men books.
Yes. All new X-Men number 3. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on this.
I like this series. I like these characters. I like that they've introduced X-23 into it. This wraps up the first storyline, and they've brought Scott Summers, the young, alive Scott Summers, back into the fold. They defeat the Cyclops group, which is a team of villains that were running around Chicago, I think. Yeah, Chicago.
The Ghosts of Cyclops or something like that.
The Ghosts of Cyclops, something like that, whatever they're called.
And
the art's good. I enjoy the character development we've got going here. Yes, I do enjoy this book. I think you have a different opinion.
It's not bad. It's not my favorite. I'm enjoying Extraordinary X-Men a lot more. But this is basically the teenage X-Men book, which is fine. But, are they ever going to make Scott Summers not a just whiny little bitch?
No.
Because he's just
that's who he is.
He's sitting in this police department about to get his head blown off by police, and he's just feeling sorry for himself.
That's who he is.
Yeah. By the
So he
way,
always has been, and we always will be.
mutants take police hostages in a police station. None of those kids make it out alive.
No.
In the real world. None of that. None of this holding at gunpoint stuff. No, they're just going to walk in and start shooting people.
Yes.
But yeah, the book's not bad. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, is it the best X-Men or Avengers book out there? No. Is it good? Sure. It's good. I'm enjoying what they're doing with these characters.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to them expanding on these characters even more.
Sure. Extraordinary X-Men number 5?
5.
5.
Yes, number 5.
Yes.
So Mr. Sinister uses the combination of Scott Summers' DNA and Inhuman DNA to create a Cyclops doppelganger and clone. Well, I wouldn't say clone because he's not really Scott Summers. He just looks like Scott Summers. It's not even a real thing, as they discuss in the book. This is just a weapon.
True.
So
it's
Mr. Sinister unleashes that. A lot of punching happens.
I like the group of characters they've got in this book.
Oh yeah, so do I. It's much more classic X-Men.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you've got going on. Is you got the all new X-Men who are the new blood, the teenagers, and you got these extraordinary X-Men, which are your classic X-Men characters.
Right.
It's interesting to see Mr. Sinister appear at this time and see what he's been up to. Because Mr. Sinister's motivation has always been perfection of the human race, whether that's mutant or whatever. And he always believed it would be mutants. But now the Inhumans have come along. And as we see in this book, the Inhuman DNA is always going to dominate over the mutant DNA, as it did in this horrible science experiment that Sinister unleashes here. And it got me thinking, because he literally declares the mutant race inferior and says the Inhumans are just going to take over.
Yes.
And that's got me thinking that maybe they're going with maybe we're really going to see the mutants go away here and just be replaced by Inhumans.
We discussed this the other day. I don't think they're replacing. How many X-Men books we got? We got 6 X books. They're all selling well. They're not going away, man. They're not going away. This is a very good book. I don't have the sales figures pulled up in front of me, but they're all selling well. The character books are selling well. The Old Man Logan book, the X-23 book, they're all selling well. They're not going away. Marvel wishes they would go away so they could get the movie rights back. They're not going away.
That's true. I think because Mr. Sinister has always been, he's kind of on the cutting edge of all this. So he losing faith in mutants as a whole, I think is indicative of the situation.
Yes. Hey, let me ask you something before we move on to the next book. Go ahead. Okay. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say Old Man Logan does not like the idea of a teenage Scott Summers.
Dude, Old Man Logan, who I got to think is somewhere around 150 years old.
Thereabouts.
Possibly having romantic feelings for a 17-year-old Jean Grey. It's kind of creepy.
It's real creepy, yeah.
I mean, I can't figure out what's going on there. If it's a father-daughter thing or if it's a romantic thing.
Yeah, and it's coming across really creepy. And I'm glad I'm not the only one that picked up on that.
Either way, it's creepy. You're just like, wow, that's at
the end they go walking into the X mansion hand in hand.
Yeah.
And she's in the Old Man Logan is literally old enough to be her great-great-grandfather.
Yeah, this is even creepier than Professor X in a wheelchair hitting on Jean Grey in like the first 20 issues of the Uncanny X-Men in the 60s.
Yeah, and I
This
don't.
is even creepy.
I gotta wonder if they just didn't pick up on that when in writing it, and it came across that way.
I don't know, man.
We'll see.
That's what editors are for, is to look at this stuff and say, hey, what are you doing here?
Or maybe they're gonna explore the whole like older man, younger woman dynamic.
Dude, this makes Hugh Hefner look. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, what were you going to say earlier?
that was it.
You were going to ask me a question.
No, that was it.
Mm.
That was it.
Okay.
X-Men, worst X-Men ever digital comic number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't like this. Let's move on.
I read it.
Did you really?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I did. I think I read everything this week, except that Figment book. It was better than issue 1. I'll give it that. I will say it was better than issue 1. I have no idea what Mystique is doing there. It was interesting. It was entertaining seeing him on each of the X teams. But, dude, I don't know what we're doing here, man. If your goal is to make the worst X-Men comic ever, if that's really your goal, they're possibly succeeding.
Dude, there's been way worse X-Men books than this, but
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, on to the Avengers books. The only one we had this week was this all new, all different Avengers, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean,
number 3.
Yeah, all new, all different Avengers number 3. Nova gets the crap beat out of him in the first couple pages, and that makes no sense. They're beating the crap out of him in the first 2 pages, and then everything's fine.
It was a dream.
Oh, it was a dream?
It was a dream.
I didn't catch that at all.
He had passed out from the flood in issue 2. He's basically dying, having a dream that all the Avengers are beating him up because whatever the villain's name was had come to Earth because of him, and they're all beating him up because it's his fault.
Okay, see.
And then Thor resuscitates him, and Vision's sitting there like, well, that's an interesting skill for Thor to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later in the Mighty Thor book, but everyone's curious about who the new Thor is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the appeal of this book to me is you've got the veterans of the Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, and Vision, with this whole new generation of superheroes in Nova, Miss Marvel, and who's the other one?
Dude, if you hadn't told me. Nova, Miss Marvel. Oh, Miles Morales.
Miles Morales, duh. And it's to me, it's really neat just to see, because they had this whole argument about, okay, this is too big for you guys. You need to go sit down. Your kids, go away. And they're like, no, we're just trying to take responsibility. And, you know, of course, the Vision and Iron Man are like, well, I can't really argue with that. So they find this Chitauri dude who's apparently been around a long time and doesn't realize how much Chitauri culture has changed.
I have no idea what happened at the end of that book with Chitauri. I don't.
I'm not really sure either, but I'm sure we'll find out.
I don't.
So they take care of this guy, and, you know, they do classic Avengers saving the day. And then Iron Man's like, hey, let's be an Avengers team. And of course, Miss Marvel's just fangirling all over the place because she just is so jazzed about being an Avenger.
Yeah, it was. I like this book, man. It's growing on me, and the art's great. And dude, it's got an Alex Ross cover.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about those every week. I like what they're doing here. I do.
Yeah, I do too. And Vision blackmailing Nova at the end is really funny.
And I think he was building up to blackmail Thor if he could figure out who she was.
Yeah, probably so. weird things are happening with the Vision, and we'll discuss that in a little bit.
That's a and yeah, we will discuss that a little bit.
Yeah. But in the meantime, moving on to Agents of Shield #1.
Thought Logan and Jean Grey was weird.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this: is this taking place? What do we call it? The Marvel Prime universe, the 616 universe.
Yes.
Is this the 6 universe?
Is this what?
Agents of Shield #1.
Yeah.
Is it taking place in the 616 universe?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why Tony Stark's there.
Well, there's. I didn't realize we had ported all of this Agents of Shield over to the 616 universe with Fitz and May and everybody.
Well, they've been there. They came to exist in this universe some time ago when they were doing the other series.
Fitz and May and everybody?
Yeah, the whole team.
Okay,
they wrote Coulson in a few years ago after he was such a success in the movie.
Right. I mean, I knew Coulson was there, and of course Tony Stark's been there, and Quake's been there, but I didn't know the rest of the team had been there in the comic books, not in the show, but in the comic books.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, they just wrote them all in because they were so popular.
Okay. All right.
And so what you have now is just another team of Shield agents doing stuff.
Yeah, good book.
Yeah, I really like this. Mark Guggenheim's writing it. The plot is essentially someone's reverse engineered an Iron Man suit and has stolen a very important thing from the Pentagon, which has to do with Coulson directly. And I won't say a whole lot more than that. You can just read it. But this book was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. It was good. And he meets up with an old girlfriend who happens to work for the Pentagon, and yeah, that leads to some intrigue, and yeah, it was good. It was very good.
So, what's up with May and Fitz?
David, I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know, because there's a scene where they're training, and he asks her out on a date, and it's another like generation gap thing. In the show, Fitz and Simmons are the thing, and I think that works better. But I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Red Wolf #2. Did you read this?
I did.
Okay, good. Tell me about it. I flipped through like half of it and just had no interest.
Did you read #1? If you didn't read #1, you're not going to understand #2. And if you didn't read 1872 from the Secret Wars book, you're really confused. Essentially, Red Wolf is from the 1872 series in Secret Wars. And then in issue 1, he's still in the time of Timely in 1872. He's fighting one of the villains there. He gets hit by lightning and wakes up
in the modern day.
In the modern day, in 2016. And Timely, except it's not Timely anymore, it's whatever, New Mexico, and is time displaced. And he's subsequently arrested, winds up helping the sheriff and deputy, and is adjusting to being in 2016. There you go.
That's the gist I got of it.
And it was a little disappointing for me.
Okay. I just didn't finish it because I was like, nope, I have no interest in this.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. Maybe they'll pick it back up with issue 3, but it was a little. If I wanted a cowboy book, I'd go read Kid Colt or Rawhide Kid or something,
or Jonah Hex or something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. I'm sure this thing was on the chopping block whenever they canceled a bunch of books recently.
I'd have to look and see. I can't imagine it doing well.
No. Scarlet Witch #2. I'm enjoying this book. What are you thinking of it?
This I did enjoy. It's funny you discover in this book that she's taking antidepressants. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, well, she's never quite been an emotionally stable girl.
Well, you know that, but from everything you've seen to her since the relaunch, since Secret Wars, you thought she was doing pretty well. You thought she was doing well because I thought she was coping. I thought she had gotten her act together.
Well, she is
And
coping. She's taking her medication and not drinking alcohol, and
apparently that's how she's coping. Yes.
yeah, she's trying not to be crazy.
Yeah. Which is working for her. So
Yeah,
there you go.
and she's got a job, investigating magic crimes.
Which took her to Cuba where she fought the Minotaur. Is that correct?
No, that would be Santorini.
Santorini?
Yeah, the island of Santorini. It's a Greek island.
I was trying to think of that, not that, the villain she fought. What did I say, Cuba? Anyway, What was the villain she fought?
The Minotaur, which was actually, it was Man-Bull, who's like a Z-list villain who got empowered by somebody and became an actual Minotaur.
And we actually saw who it was in the last page, and I have no idea who that is.
It's the guy they introduced in that Avengers book.
Sure.
The green, the Emerald Wizard or whatever.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's that guy. Because they created that villain specifically for her.
Oh. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's him.
Anyway, she goes to the island. She meets with a Greek goddess of magic. They discuss what's happening on the island. Wanda goes and defeats what's happening on the island.
She confronts the Minotaur and deals with that. And really the greater mystery here is magic is broken and she's trying to figure out what is going on. And I think this plays into what's going on in the Doctor Strange book too.
Yeah, I think all these magical books run together, including Vision, which is kind of confusing.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, all of them running together is really confusing to me.
So I'm enjoying the story so far, and we'll see what happens with number 3.
Yeah, there you go.
All new Hawkeye number 3. This one was pretty good. There's really not a ton to say about it. I mean, it's really just kind of the final act of this current story arc that they're doing, where he and Kate have a falling out, and the result of that falling out is something bad happens in the future, and that would not happen if they had just stuck together in the present. And I can't really tell you more about the book without spoiling the whole thing, but if you've been
reading, now they
reconcile
and move on.
Yeah, if you've been reading this book, this is the wrap up to that story.
Yeah.
And then you got Mighty Thor number 3, which is more like a Loki book than it is a Thor book.
Which was good. I'm glad they introduced Loki into this series.
Okay.
Apparently you disagree.
I've never cared for Loki in any iteration.
Well, here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you want Thor, any Thor, this Thor or Odin's son, on the Earth fighting supervillains on the Earth, or do you want an Asgard story? Because in this case, what they're writing here is an Asgard story with the Dark Elves, the 10 realms fighting, Odin going insane, and to do that, they've introduced Loki in this issue. So they're writing an Asgardian story rather than her fighting villains on Earth. Which you can always take Thor in 2 different directions, and they've chosen to take it in the Asgard direction. Which I think is
that's the right choice, because you can just throw her on an Avengers team and then you get to see her, busting people up with the Avengers, and then you use her main book to explore the Asgard stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. There's a lot of Loki monologuing in this book, and to me it was a little tedious. But it's been good so far, other than this issue. So I'll allow it.
Yeah, and I think they're building a foundation for the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just didn't happen to enjoy this issue quite so much. And Jason Aaron's writing it, so I'm not worried. It's going to be good. But
Right.
here's what I don't understand. What is Odin so mad about?
Well, he died, and
Sure,
when he came back, his wife Freya, thank you. I'm terrible with names, man.
you sure are.
Dude, I am terrible. I'm great at math. Okay, great at math. Horrible with names. Seriously, you have
Yeah.
no idea. Anyway, she had taken power and done several things which which he disagreed with. The realms
Sure.
had done some things which he disagreed with.
Mhm.
Odin's son had done some things which he disagreed with, and he wanted her to just hand him his throne back, and she said no. So he took it, and they've been fighting ever since.
Okay. I just couldn't figure out what he was so upset about because I haven't really been paying attention to the Thor books until this series.
Sure.
Yep. Then you got Illuminati number 3. This was better than the last one.
Which is not saying much because the last one was so bad.
Yeah,
But-
and I mean the whole thing here is trying to get you to sympathize with these villains, to humanize them a bit.
Which at this point, my problem with the last issue is that you've got a bunch of great villains that you've got what should be alpha powered villains, the Enchantress.
Right, this should be
The
this should
Hood.
be a competent villain.
These are very powerful supervillains.
Right.
And instead, they're acting like buffoons. Well, at least in issue 3, they know they're acting like incompetent buffoons.
Right.
So,
And
so
they're
at least they know they're being incompetent in issue 3, which is something.
right. And you get a little exposition into the characters this time around. Turns out the Hood he has a kid and he wants to provide for that kid while being a deadbeat dad. Because if your dad's a super villain, like, come on.
Yeah,
You're
I'm with you.
and if he's chosen the life to be a supervillain, does it because he wants to be a villain? I'd call that being a deadbeat dad.
Yeah. And I still don't understand the Hood. I just don't.
Yeah,
So-
I don't either. But maybe this book will get better, but probably not.
Probably not.
No,
Black
probably
Knight
not.
number 3.
Dane Whitman forms a coalition of various factions within Weird World to contend with the Avengers. So he brings various factions together to fight for him when the Avengers arrive. And we also get a little background on how he got to Weird World in the first place.
Yeah. And he is going insane because the sword is driving him insane.
Yes, the sword always drives them insane.
Yes. And that pretty well sums it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. All New Wolverine. I'm really enjoying this book.
I am too. This is entertaining. And it was entertaining seeing him in Doctor Strange's house.
Yeah, I really like the Doctor Strange cameo in this book. They're all freaked out by the Sanctum Sanctorum. In fact, one of them attacks a cabinet and unleashes a monster.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny that she shot up the cabinet because it was winking at her.
Yeah, that's funny stuff. But the real meat of this book, I thought, was the conversation that Doctor Strange has with Laura Kinney about second chances.
Yeah, because it gives depth to the character of both Logan, Laura Kinney, and the 3 clones.
Yeah. So what happens is they go to Doctor Strange for help. He examines the 3 clones with the Eye of Agamotto to understand what they're about. And he pulls Laura aside and says, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this? They've done some really bad stuff." And she says, "Hey, look at me." And so he does, and sees everything she's done and she's been through and why she deserved a second chance. And he's kind of impressed by it. He's like, okay, to go through everything you went through and to hold it together is actually kind of terrifying. And in the end, he decides that yes, they do deserve another chance, and that she is absolutely the right person to take on the mantle of Wolverine. And I thought it was really insightful, thought provoking dialogue between two really good characters.
Yeah, I thought so. I did think so.
Yep. So I'll continue to be reading this book. And
This is good art too.
the art is really good. Yes. And then you got Captain America Sam Wilson #5.
Let me say this.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this book. They introduced the new Falcon. They carry on the plot of the Serpent Society, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Dude, just get over Captain America being a werewolf. I know
it absolutely has no bearing.
We beat this to death last month, but just get over this, man. I mean, it has no bearing in the book.
Yeah.
You got a good plot going. You got good villains. You got everything rocking. Why is he a werewolf, man? I don't get it.
You've even got a genetically altered guy who is the new Falcon, and that makes sense from a story standpoint, even because you're dealing with this genetic scientist that they're looking for who's doing stuff.
Right, and this is basically the Falcon's origin issue, and it was a pretty cool issue.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. But you know what? But you know what didn't have any bearing on me enjoying the issue? Captain America being a werewolf.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, and it still doesn't make any sense.
None.
But yeah, and I thought D-Man being a babysitter was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny.
He's just kind of an incompetent moron.
He was an incompetent moron when he was in the Avengers, and now he's an incompetent moron as a babysitter.
Did they ever explain how he came back to life? Because he was dead for the longest time.
I don't know, man. It's part of the
new
whatever. Yeah. Weird World #2. This is the one book besides Figment, which I was tentative about reading anyway, and once you told me how bad Figment was, I was like, okay, not reading it.
Listen, we're going to cover Figment right now.
Okay, let's cover Figment.
It's a Disney book, first off. It's not really tied into the Marvel Universe at all, so I was hesitant to read it, but I decided to. And I guess it's based on one of their... It's not based on the Kingdom Hearts video game, but I don't know what this is. But it was kind of a fantasy thing, so I was like, okay, I'll see. I got about 3 pages in, and somebody utters the phrase, "As Kazam, we're in a jam," and I rolled my eyes so hard, I saw the back of my skull, and I immediately just closed the book and moved on.
That was the end of Figment.
Yeah, I was like, nope, can't do it. Bye.
Nope, there you go.
If you want to read this book and love it, fine.
God bless you.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, all kidding aside, what audience was it geared for?
Had to be kids.
So it's a kid's book.
Yeah, it is. It read like a Disney animated film.
Okay, there you go. I mean, it's a kid's book, and it's not for me and you, and we would poke ourselves in the eyes if we had to read it.
Absolutely.
Okay, back to Weird World #2.
I love this book, and it's so up my alley that I have to love it. So in the last issue, you have this woman, Becca. Well, she's a girl. She's a teenage girl. Her plane crashes and she ends up in Weird World and meets Goletta, the wizard killing barbarian lady. And so, having no other recourse, she becomes Goletta's squire. And the part of this issue is Goletta trying to train her to kill wizards, because that's what Goletta does. She kills wizards. She has a car that has That's a cool car. It is a cool car. She has a car with a license plate that says Wiz Killer on it. And in fact, at some point they meet another wizard and she tries to kill him. And Becca has to go, wait, hang on. Let's hear what he has to say. Maybe he can help us. So, and this is really more ground laying for a future story, but you've got Morgan Le Fay scheming. She's trying to take over Weird World for herself. and you've got Goletta, the wizard killing barbarian, and Becca, the human girl who's terrible at killing wizards, joining with Ogiode, the ninth wizard of the Order of the Wilder Men, to go on a quest for Fang Mountain. And if that sounds like the back of a D&D adventure book, that's exactly what it is, and I love it.
It doesn't sound like something I would enjoy, but it sounds like something you would enjoy tremendously.
And the art is off the chain. It's perfect for what this world is, for what Weird World is, because it's just so topsy-turvy and strange. And the art goes perfectly with that.
There you go.
So I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up.
There you go.
Vision
number. Go ahead.
Yeah, we get to vision number 3.
Vision number 3. This book just, man, this book is everything.
It's definitely the most compelling thing that Marvel's writing right now.
Yes, it's got mystery. It's got great art. It's got character development. You can't even figure out if the stars of the book are heroes or villains. And you've known the Vision for 40 years.
Yeah. And so to give you a brief synopsis, the Vision has removed his emotional chip, or whatever it is that gives him emotions. And as such, he's created more like him. He's created himself a wife who is like the Vision and 2 children, and they're living in suburban Virginia.
Do they have emotion chips?
I don't know. But things are getting really out of hand really fast. I mean, the Grim Reaper busted in and chopped his daughter in half, which they repair in this issue. And even then, because he enlists Tony Stark to help him out, and even Tony sees that something's off because he threatens to kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony's like,
the first thing he does is he said, if this goes wrong, I'm blaming you. And then he threatens to kill him.
Yeah. And so, and Tony understands it's in an effort to save his daughter, his weird Vision robot daughter. And even Tony understands that something is off. And someone's narrating this book through the whole thing, through the whole series. Someone is narrating it. And I'm starting to think that's Agatha Harkness.
Because in this whole book, throughout this issue, you've got this Agatha Harkness thing going on.
Yeah, she's alive.
That I don't understand. She's alive.
She's
alive somehow here, but she's a ghost in Scarlet Witch number 2.
Yeah, but in this issue, and just to spoil it, they're talking about the Everbloom of Wundagore, which if you eat it's a flower. If you eat the flower, it'll show you visions of the future, but you have to kill something first to do it. And so you see Agatha Harkness stab a cat to death, and then have like some crazy spasm when she's having a vision, which is when she has the vision of the Visions doing something horrible. Because at this point you realize the Visions are going to crack and kill everyone, or at least that's what it's leading up to, or something sinister like that. And what you're seeing is how it all came about. So I guess Agatha Harkness is alive.
I guess I don't. And that's the beauty of this book is you don't know where it's going. You don't know what's happening here. And that's what makes this book so great.
Yeah, and it's just the weirdest. It's like watching a horror film.
It is. I tell you what it's like. I don't know if you ever. The horror films these days are all hack and slash. There's lots of blood. There's lots of just mutilation.
Yeah, it's a lot of jump scares.
If you ever watch an old Alfred Hitchcock movie, It wasn't like that. It was you just stood on the edge of your seat because you never knew when the moment came where something was going to leap out of the closet and grab the hero. You never knew when that one moment was going to come, and it was just continually building up to it. That's the way this Vision book is. The whole thing is it just keeps you on the edge of your seat because you don't know what these characters are doing. You don't know where that one moment is. You don't know who's a villain and who's a hero, and you just don't know. And you got one robot seducing another, and that's pretty weird in and of itself. And
Yeah, robot coitus is weird. It's disturbing.
It just, thank you. There's a word for it.
It's disturbing.
It was disturbing. Yes.
You don't see them actually do anything, but it's the very suburban sort of, the man and wife are at the end of their day, kind of talking about their day in their bedroom, getting ready for bed. And the wife comes out of the bathroom wearing a lingerie. And normally,
but she's an android.
But she's an android. And the Vision doesn't
not
get
even
it.
An attractive android. Okay. It's not like, it's an LMD. All right.
She looks like the Vision.
Yeah.
And she actually phases her underwear off, and that's so weird. And so I'm not trying to shame anyone. I understand that's probably somebody's kink, but dude, it was weird.
It was.
I was turning the page. I was turning the page, going, I really hope we don't see "Okay, to be continued." Thank God, because I don't want to see. I don't know. I don't want to see robots humping. That's weird.
This was a.
Do you think it sounds like techno music? Never mind.
Never mind. Darth Vader number 15. Yeah.
Moving on to Star Wars books.
The Star Wars section. Darth Vader number 15. The conclusion of the Vader Down saga.
Yes. This issue reminds me so much of why Star Wars is, or rather, comic books are such a solid medium for Star Wars. You can tell really good stories with Star Wars in a comic book. Some things you take and create a comic book around, and they just don't work. Like, have you ever seen the cartoon Adventure Time?
No.
Hilarious show. But when you take it and you put it into a comic book, it can be a great comic book, and it is, but it doesn't quite carry over the right way. It doesn't carry over something. Star Wars is not like this. I was reading this issue thinking this is like watching one of the movies. And at one point, somewhere in the middle of the book, there's a scene where they're all standing in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, Han and Luke and Leia and Chewie and the droids. And it had that "this is Star Wars" feeling.
You really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Did you read it?
I did. And I enjoyed it. It was good. I don't know how many issues this Vader Down saga was. 10, 8?
Something
10,
like
8,
that.
10 books. I thought this issue as a finale felt a little rushed. I just thought
they did resolve everything fairly quickly.
I thought you had all this stuff all over the planet, and they just resolved it all. It just felt rushed, all of it. I felt like it should have been a double issue, or maybe another. You get 15, and they had a Vader Down number 1. I think maybe have a Vader Down number 2 at the end, and make that a double size. I think there should have been more. I think this thing could have been told better and longer, and given it room to breathe.
Yeah, more. You could have done a little more with it. I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, they got to move on.
Yeah, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good. It's very good. I just think it felt just a little rushed.
I think so too. Hey,
great art, dude. Salvador Larroca's art, man.
Dude, Salvador Larroca always does the best art. Did Leia have a Force vision there?
I don't know.
Or some sort of premonition? I think she did. I think that's what that was. Because she was going to try to take out Vader and then decided, no, she saw um, Alderaan be destroyed again, and then she saw the dead bodies of Luke and Han and Chewie at her feet, and decided she needed to go save her friends. And I think that's how that worked out.
Huh. I have to go back and glance at that.
Yeah, take a look at it. Also, I want to know what's in that Jedi temple.
I don't know.
Have you ever played the Knights of the Old Republic game?
No.
Okay. Anytime you get to explore an ancient Jedi temple, do it because it's always cool.
Okay.
And if something that Obi-Wan Kenobi left for Luke led him there, there's got to be some cool stuff in that temple. And I hope we get to find out.
Okay.
So I think that wraps up all the books, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. What was your favorite book this week?
Secret Wars.
You know, it's easy to say Secret Wars, and I agree with you. I do. However, a close second is Scarlet Witch #2, and I'm trying to find who the artist is on this, because they did this thing rather than drawing panels. This is beautiful art in this book. It's not panels. They did it in a circular fashion.
Marco Rudy.
And
David Aja did the pencils, so that there you
it's
go.
in a circular fashion,
Yeah.
and at one point it's falling out of a lady's head. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous art.
It's very technical art, and it also it gets very artsy without having it issues away the old panels.
Yeah,
And
there
you're
are
knocking
no
stuff
panels.
over.
Yes. Yes, I did trying to move my iPad. I knocked stuff over. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Um,
Yeah, there are no panels. It's just everywhere.
and sometimes when you see artists do this kind of style, you lose the storytelling direction in the art, and you don't know what to look at first and what's happening, and it tends to be a jumbled mess. This was a complaint I had with a bunch of old Green Lantern books from a few years ago, but you don't have that here. The art, it breaks out of that old panel style that is always used, and the artwork flows in a different way, but it takes the story with it, and that is some real talent.
Dude, page 10 is just magnificent. It's just magnificent.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I yeah, that's a beautiful book, man. It's beautiful.
I agree. We went a little long with the Secret Wars stuff. Is there anything we need to discuss before we say goodbye for this week?
www.6monthsbehind.com.
And you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Any parting advice, words of wisdom?
It is never too late to have a happy childhood.
That is true. We'll see you all next week.
Peace.